I wasn't supposed to give a toast. That wasn't the plan. The plan was dinner, champagne, Megan and Kyle at the head of the table, 85 guests, and a father who smiles and writes a check and keeps his mouth shut. But 3 hours before the party, I found a folder on my dead wife's laptop. It was hidden, buried inside Tax Documents 2019, inside ArcCPS OLD, inside a third folder labeled KYLE. Do not dilute. Claire had built a maze around it, 3 folders deep, names designed to bore anyone who stumbled across them. Nobody opens a folder called Tax Documents. That's the point. I opened it at 40:17 p.m. The engagement party started at 7. Inside were 47 files. Background checks, court records pulled from PESAR, the federal court database. A restraining order from Maricopa County, Arizona, filed by a woman I'd never heard of. Screenshots of a marriage certificate from 2018, Kyle's name, a different woman, a wedding nobody in my daughter's life knew about. And 3 PDFs from the Arizona Corporation Commission, showing a business fraud investigation, tied to a man whose driver's license photo was Kyle's face, but whose name was not Kyle's name. At the bottom of the folder was a text file. 1 line. Created 11 days before Claire was diagnosed with the cancer that killed her. Dad, investigate him. I ran out of time. Claire had spent her last healthy weeks investigating the man our daughter was about to marry. She'd found enough to know something was wrong. She hadn't found enough to prove it. So she left me instructions, hidden in a folder she knew I'd eventually find, because she knew that after she died, I'd go through her laptop. Not immediately. Not in the first month. But eventually. When the grief settled enough to open the machine, she was right. It took me 6 months. And I found the folder 3 hours before I was supposed to stand in a room full of people and welcome Kyle into our family. I didn't welcome him. I destroyed him. At the toast. With the champagne still fizzing. Before we go any further, thank you for being here. If this story already has your blood moving, take a second and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. It truly helps this channel reach more people. And a gentle reminder, while this story carries real emotions and real lessons, some names, details, and events have been fictionalized for narrative and educational purposes. Any resemblance to real individuals is coincidental. Stay with me. Because what was in that folder is only half the story. What happened at the toast is the half you won't forget. My name is Arthur Pennington. I'm 63 years old. I live in a house in Fairfax County, Virginia, the D.C. suburb where government contractors and lobbyists and people who work 3-letter acronyms live behind brick facades and manicured lawns. I'm none of those things. I'm a retired fire captain, 30 years with Fairfax County Fire and Rescue, Station 21, ending my career as a captain running a ladder company out of the Centreville Station. I retired in 2021. My pension is 78,000 a year. My house is worth 27,000. My life insurance payout from Claire's death was 400,000. I am, by Northern Virginia standards, comfortable but not wealthy. Claire was the wealthy one, not by income, but by intelligence. She was a forensic accountant. If you don't know what that is, a forensic accountant is an accountant who specializes in investigating financial fraud, tracing money, identifying hidden assets, detecting embezzlement, and building evidence packages for civil and criminal litigation. Claire worked for a firm in Tyson's Corner that contracted with the Department of Justice, the SEC, and private law firms handling white-collar crime cases. She earned 105,000 a year. She was, by any measure, one of the most methodical investigators I've ever known. When Claire investigated something, she didn't guess. She documented. She cross-referenced. She built cases the way I built incident command structures at fire scenes, layer by layer, with redundancy at every level, so that if one piece failed, the whole structure still held. The folder on her laptop was a Claire Pennington investigation, incomplete, but devastating. Claire died on August 3, 2024. Ovarian cancer diagnosed in May, gone by August, 12 weeks. Ovarian cancer is called the silent killer in oncology because it produces few symptoms until it reaches advanced stages. By the time Claire felt the abdominal pain that sent her to the doctor, it was stage E, meaning the cancer had spread beyond the ovaries to the peritoneum and lymph nodes. The 5-year survival rate for stage E ovarian cancer is approximately 39%, according to the American Cancer Society. Claire didn't get 5 years. She got 12 weeks, In those 12 weeks, she did 3 things. She organized our finances. She wrote letters to Megan and our son, Jack. And she investigated Kyle Whitford. Kyle had entered our lives in January 2024. Megan, our daughter, 29, a marketing manager at a tech company in Arlington, had met him on Hinge, the dating app. Kyle was 33 tall, well-dressed, and employed as a private wealth consultant, a title that sounded impressive and meant nothing verifiable. He drove a BMW 5 Series. He wore a Breitling watch. He took Megan to restaurants that charged $200 a plate. He told her he'd been educated at USC, the University of Southern California, and that he'd worked in private equity in Phoenix before moving to DC to expand his client base. I liked him. I'll admit that. The first time Megan brought Kyle to dinner, he shook my hand firmly, made eye contact, asked about my career, and listened to my fire stories with what appeared to be genuine interest. He complimented Claire's cooking. He brought wine, a 6D bottle of Caymus Cabernet, which is exactly the wine a man brings when he wants to impress a forensic accountant's family. Claire didn't like him. She didn't say so immediately. Claire never announced her suspicions. She stored them. She observed. She collected data points the way her profession had trained her to, one at a time, without judgment, until the pattern emerged. He said he worked in private equity in Phoenix. Claire told me after Kyle's second visit. I looked up his LinkedIn. It says he was a financial consultant at a company called Apex Wealth Partners. I searched the Arizona Corporation Commission database. Apex Wealth Partners was dissolved in 2021. There's no website. No client testimonials. Nothing. Maybe it was a small firm. Private equity firms don't disappear without a trace, Arthur. They have SEC filings. They have Form ADV registrations with state securities regulators. Apex Wealth Partners has none of that. It either never existed as a licensed financial entity, or it existed as something other than what Kyle described. You're investigating our daughter's boyfriend. I'm asking questions. That's different. It wasn't different. For Claire, asking questions was the first step of an investigation. And by the time she found the answers, she was already building the folder. Claire's investigation began in March 2024, 3 months after Kyle entered Megan's life, 2 months before Claire was diagnosed. She used the tools of her profession, the same databases, the same search methods, the same verification protocols she used when tracing embezzled funds for the DOJ. File 1, Being Verified Background Check. Being Verified is a consumer background check service that aggregates public records, court filings, property records, address history, known associates, and criminal records into a single report. It costs $26.89 per month for unlimited searches. Claire's report on Kyle Whitford returned a clean result. No criminal record. No civil judgments, no liens. Address history consistent with what Kyle had told Megan, Phoenix from 2015 to 2022, then DC, but Claire noticed something. The report listed Kyle's date of birth as March 12, 1991. Kyle had told Megan his birthday was June 8, 1991. A 3-month discrepancy, small, possibly a data error. But Claire circled it in red and wrote in the margin, which birthday is real? File 2 in PCR search. PCR, the public access to court electronic record system, is the federal court database. It contains filings from every federal district court, bankruptcy court, and appellate court in the United States. Access costs $0.10 per page, and the search function allows queries by name, case number, or date range. Claire searched Kyle Whitford across all federal districts, no results. Then she searched Kyle with the alternate birthday, March 12, 1991, across Arizona federal courts, 1 result. A bankruptcy filing from 2020, case number 2020 BKO 1847, filed in the United States Bankruptcy Court for the District of Arizona. The debtor's name was Kyle Marcus Wheeler. Date of birth, March 12, 1991. Address: see Scottsdale, Arizona. Kyle Wheeler. Not Kyle Whitford. Same first name, same date of birth. Different last name. Claire had found Kyle's other identity. File 30 Arizona Corporation Commission records. Claire searched Kyle Wheeler in the ACC database, the state agency that registers businesses, LLCs, and corporations in Arizona. She found Apex Wealth Partners LLC, registered in 2018, dissolved in 2021. The registered agent, Kyle Marcus Wheeler. The company's filing history showed an administrative dissolution, meaning the state shut it down for failure to file annual reports or maintain a registered agent. But the ACC records also showed something else. A referral note indicating that the Arizona Attorney General's office had opened an investigation into Apex Wealth Partners in 2020 for potential securities fraud. Claire pulled the AG investigation records through a Freedom of Information request. The documents showed that Apex Wealth Partners had collected $340,000 from 11 investors in a private equity fund that never made a single investment. The money went to Kyle Wheeler's personal accounts. The investigation was closed without prosecution when Wheeler filed for bankruptcy, and the AG's office determined that criminal charges were unlikely to result in restitution. The $340,000, 11 victims, and no prosecution, because the man who stole the money declared himself bankrupt and the system shrugged. File 40 Maricopa County Superior Court records. Claire searched Kyle Wheeler in the Arizona State Court system. She found a civil restraining order of protection case number FC21-052891, filed on September 14, 2021 by a woman named Rachel Dominguez. The order alleged that Kyle Wheeler had engaged in pattern of financial coercion, emotional manipulation, and threatening behavior during their relationship. The order was granted for 1 year. Rachel Dominguez, a name I'd never heard. A woman who'd been in a relationship with the man my daughter was dating. A relationship that ended with a court order keeping him away from her. File marriage certificate. Claire found it through the Maricopa County Recorder's Office online portal. Kyle Marcus Wheeler married a woman named Jennifer Thornton on April 22, 2018 in Scottsdale, Arizona. The marriage was dissolved on December 3, 2020. A divorce filing that coincided exactly with the bankruptcy and the AG investigation. Kyle had been married. He'd never told Megan. He'd never told us. He'd entered our daughter's life as a single man named Kyle Whitford with a clean history and a BMW, and he was actually a divorced man named Kyle Wheeler with a bankruptcy, a fraud investigation, a restraining order, and a dissolved business that had stolen $340,000 from 11 people. File 60, the name change. Claire found it in the Maricopa County Superior Court records. Kyle Marcus Wheeler filed a legal name change petition on January 15, 2022. 9 months after the restraining order and 13 months after the bankruptcy. The petition was granted on March 3, 2022. Kyle Marcus Wheeler became Kyle Marcus Whitford. The stated reason: personal and professional rebranding. Personal and professional rebranding. The legal system allows name changes for legitimate reasons: marriage, divorce, personal identity, religious conversion. Arizona Revised Statutes Section 12601 governs the name change process. There is no requirement that the petitioner disclose criminal history, civil judgments, or financial fraud. The system is designed for people with genuine reasons to change their name. It is exploited by people whose reason is to erase their past. Kyle Wheeler became Kyle Whitford. And Kyle Whitford moved to Washington, D.C., and started a new life, new name, new city, new dating profile, new target. Claire documented all of this. 47 files. Organized with the precision of a forensic accountant who'd spent 25 years building evidence packages for federal prosecutors. Each file was dated. Each file was annotated. Each file was cross-referenced with the others. And then, on May 15, 2024, Claire went to the doctor about abdominal pain. And everything stopped. The cancer diagnosis consumed the next 12 weeks. Surgery. Chemotherapy. The conversations that cancer forces, about wills, about insurance, about what comes after. Claire's investigation was abandoned. Not forgotten. Abandoned. She couldn't finish it because her body wouldn't let her, but she left the folder, hidden in 3 layers of boring file names, with a single instruction in a text file that she created on May 4th, 11 days before the diagnosis, the last day she was fully herself. Dad, investigate him. I ran out of time. She called me Dad. Claire called me Arthur. Always. For 35 years. But in that note, the note she knew I'd eventually find, she wrote what Megan would say. Dad, investigate him. She was channeling our daughter's voice. Writing the words Megan would say if Megan knew what Claire knew. It was a ventriloquism of love, speaking through the person she was trying to protect. I found the folder at 4:17 p.m. on February 8, 2025, 6 months after Claire died, 3 hours before the engagement party. I'd been going through Claire's laptop to transfer family photos to a backup drive. Standard grief task. The kind of digital housekeeping that widowers do when they're ready to touch their wife's things without falling apart. I was in the Documents folder. I clicked Tax Documents 29-9 because I thought there might be records I needed for the accountant. I found RCIPTS OLD. I clicked it because I'm thorough. Claire trained me to be thorough. And I found KYLE DLOT 47 files, 3 hours. And an engagement party where 85 people were expecting me to raise a glass and say something warm about the man my daughter was marrying. I sat at the kitchen table, Claire's table, the table where she'd built this folder, and I read every file, every background check, every court record, every screenshot, every annotation in Claire's handwriting. It took me 90 minutes. When I finished, it was 50:47 p.m. The party started at 7. I had 2 choices. Choice 1, say nothing. Go to the party, smile, give a generic toast. Pull Megan aside afterward and show her the folder privately. Handle it like a reasonable person. Choice 2. Finish what Claire started, at the toast. In front of everyone, I called my son Jack. He's 31, a software engineer in D.C., and the calmest person in any room. I told him what I'd found. Dad, you can't drop this at the toast. Your mother left me this folder. I know. And Mom was a forensic accountant, not a public prosecutor. She built the evidence. She didn't say what to do with it. She said investigate him. I have 3 hours. I can't investigate in 3 hours. But I can verify how. PUSCR is online. The Arizona Corporation Commission is online. Maricopa County Court records are online. Everything Claire found I can confirm in real time. If it's still there, if the bankruptcy, the fraud investigation, the restraining order, the name change are all still in the public record, then Claire was right. And I'm not letting Megan marry a man who stole $340,000 from 11 people and changed his name to hide it. Jack was silent for 10 seconds. Then he said, I'll verify the PESAR records, you verify Arizona. We meet at the party at 6:45. We split the work. Jack pulled the bankruptcy filing from PESAR, still active, still public, case 2020, Buckyo 1847, debtor Kyle Marcus Wheeler. I pulled the ACC records, Apex Wealth Partners dissolved, AG investigation referenced. I pulled the Maricopa County restraining order, still on file, still attached to Kyle Marcus Wheeler. I pulled the name change, granted March 2022, Wheeler to Whitford. Everything Claire had found was still there. Public records. Freely accessible. Permanent. Kyle had changed his name, but he couldn't change the databases. The bankruptcy, the fraud, the restraining order, they were all filed under Wheeler. And they were all still there, waiting for someone to search the right name. Jack and I arrived at the restaurant at 6:45. The Waterford at Springfield, a banquet venue in Fairfax County that Megan had booked for 85 guests. White tablecloths. Champagne flutes. A string quartet. Megan had spent $12,000 on this party. She'd spent 3 months planning it. She'd shown me the seating chart, the menu, the playlist. She was happy in a way that I hadn't seen her happy since Claire died. The specific, luminous happiness of a woman who believes she's found the person she'll spend her life with. I was about to destroy that happiness. And I hated it. I hated Kyle for making it necessary. I hated the situation. I hated that Claire wasn't here to do this herself. Because Claire would have done it better, quieter, with the surgical precision of a woman who dismantled fraud for a living. But Claire wasn't here. I was here. And the folder was on my phone, every file, every record, every PDF transferred from Claire's laptop to my phone in a zip file that Jack had helped me organize during the drive. The party started at 7, cocktail hour. Mingling. Kyle worked the room like a professional, handshakes, eye contact, the particular charm of a man who has practiced being likable. He wore a navy suit. He held a champagne glass. He stood next to Megan with his hand on the small of her back, and he looked, to every person in that room, like a man who deserved to be there. At 8:15, the host invited the father of the bride to give a toast. The room quieted. 85 people turned toward me. Megan was smiling, Kyle was smiling. The string quartet stopped playing. I stood up. I held my champagne glass. And I didn't smile. Thank you all for being here tonight. Most of you know me as Megan's father. Some of you knew my wife, Claire, who passed away last August. Claire was a forensic accountant, a person whose job was to find the truth hidden inside financial records. She was brilliant at it. And she was doing it right up until the end. I paused. The room was still. Megan's smile was starting to fade, not because she suspected anything, but because the tone of a toast about a dead wife is different from the tone of a toast about an engagement. 3 hours ago, I found a folder on Claire's laptop. A hidden folder. Buried inside 3 layers of dummy files. Claire built it the way she built all her cases, methodically, carefully, with evidence that could withstand scrutiny. The folder was about Kyle. The room shifted. You could feel it, the collective intake of breath, the adjustment of posture, the particular human alertness that activates when someone says something unexpected at a formal event. Kyle's smile didn't disappear. It froze. The muscles held the position, but the warmth left. His eyes moved from me to Megan to the room and back to me. Claire discovered that Kyle's legal name until March 2022 was Kyle Marcus Wheeler. He changed it through a name change petition in Maricopa County, Arizona. Before the name change, Kyle Wheeler filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy in 2020, Case 2020 BKs 01847 in the United States Bankruptcy Court for the District of Arizona. The bankruptcy was triggered by an investigation from the Arizona Attorney General's office into a company Kyle founded called Apex Wealth Partners, which collected more than $340,000 from 11 investors in a fund that never invested a single dollar. Silence. Total cathedral silence. 85 people staring at me. Megan's hand was over her mouth. Kyle's champagne glass was still raised, held in a grip that had turned white-knuckled. Claire also found a restraining order, filed in Maricopa County Superior Court by a woman named Rachel Dominguez in 2021. The order cited financial coercion, emotional manipulation, and threatening behavior. And Claire found a marriage certificate. Kyle Wheeler married a woman named Jennifer Thornton in April 2018. The marriage was dissolved in December 2020. I looked at Megan, my daughter, the person I was supposed to protect. The person Claire had tried to protect with 47 files and a hidden folder, and a single instruction typed on her last healthy day. Megan, your mother found this. She couldn't finish the investigation because cancer took her time. But she left the folder for me. And she left a note. 1 line. I read it from my phone. Dad, investigate him. I ran out of time. Megan broke. Not the way you break when you're surprised. The way you break when something you suspected, but couldn't face is suddenly confirmed by the person you trust most in the world. She'd had doubts. I could see it in the way she crumbled, not with shock, but with the specific grief of a woman whose instincts had been whispering for months, and who had chosen to believe the louder voice that said everything was fine. Kyle moved. He set down his champagne glass, carefully, precisely, the way a man sets things down when he's calculating his exit, and he stepped toward me. Arthur, you're ruining your daughter's engagement party based on a dead woman's internet searches. This is paranoia. This is grief. You need help. Me wife was a forensic accountant who worked with the Department of Justice. She didn't do internet searches. She did investigations. And everything she found is in the public record. PESAR, the Arizona Corporation Commission, the Maricopa County Recorder's Office. It's all verifiable, right now. On any phone in this room. That was the moment. Not my speech. Not Claire's folder. The moment I said, verifiable, and 85 people reached for their phones. The room became a verification engine. 85 guests searching, Kyle Wheeler Arizona bankruptcy, and Apex Wealth Partners fraud, and Kyle Wheeler restraining order. Within 3 minutes, the first person found the PESAR filing. Within 5, someone had the Arizona Corporation Commission records. Within 7, someone had the restraining order on a legal records aggregator. Kyle Whitford, Kyle Wheeler, watched 85 people confirm his past in real time. He didn't argue. He didn't deny. He picked up his jacket from the back of his chair and walked toward the exit. He didn't run. Running would have been a confession. He walked, slowly, with the composed dignity of a man who has been exposed before and knows that the only play left is to leave the room before the room leaves him. At the door, he stopped. He turned back. He looked at Megan. I was going to be different this time, he said. Then he left. And 85 people exhaled. Megan didn't speak to me for 3 weeks after the engagement party. Not because she was angry at me. Because she was angry at herself. For not seeing it, for not questioning it, for trusting a man whose charm was so polished that it blinded her to the gaps in his story. The gaps were obvious in retrospect. He'd never introduced Megan to any friends from Phoenix. He'd never shown her photos from before 2022. He'd changed the subject every time she asked about his family. He'd paid for everything in cash, no credit cards, because credit cards carry the name on the account, and Kyle Whitford's credit history began in 2022. Before that, there was only Kyle Wheeler, bankrupt, investigated, restrained, divorced. Jack and I completed Claire's investigation over the following weeks. We hired a licensed private investigator, a retired FBI financial crimes agent named Don Vasquez, who charged $175 an hour and was worth 10 times that. Don's investigation revealed 2 additional victims beyond the 11 investors in Apex Wealth Partners. After moving to D.C. and changing his name, Kyle had started a new scheme, not a fund, but a series of private investment opportunities, targeting women he met through dating apps. He would date women with high net worth families, build trust over months, and then propose investment opportunities that required wire transfers to accounts he controlled. 2 women had transferred money. One sent $28,000. Another sent $45,000. Both believed they were investing in a real estate venture. Both lost everything. Neither had reported it to law enforcement, because the shame of being defrauded by a romantic partner is one of the most powerful silencers in financial crime. The FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, or IC3, estimates that romance fraud losses exceeded $13 billion in 2023 alone, and that the majority of cases go unreported. Don packaged the evidence, Claire's original 47 files, the additional victims, the financial trail, and submitted it to the FBI's Washington field office. The investigation is ongoing. Kyle Whitford, Kyle Wheeler, has not been arrested as of this recording, but his name is now in the system. The system that Claire, from a folder on a laptop, helped build. Megan came to the house 6 weeks after the party. She sat at the kitchen table, Claire's table, and she asked to see the folder. I opened Claire's laptop. I showed her the directory. Tax documents 2019. Receipts old. KYELEE. Megan opened every file. She read every document. She spent 2 hours at that table, in her mother's chair, reading her mother's investigation, following her mother's logic. And when she got to the text file, the single line, "Dad, investigate him," I ran out of time. She closed the laptop and put her hands flat on the table and cried. She knew, Megan said. She always knew. How? She met him twice. How do you investigate someone after 2 dinners? Your mother investigated a Fortune 500 company based on a single expense report once. She found $2 million in hidden payments. 2 dinners was more than enough. She was protecting me. She was always protecting you. That's what mothers do. They see the thing you can't see. They investigate the thing you won't investigate. And when they run out of time, they leave a folder. Megan was quiet for a long time. Then she said something that I keep on the refrigerator. Next to Claire's photograph, next to the grocery list Claire wrote the last week, she was strong enough to walk to the kitchen. Mom didn't run out of time. She just passed the case to you. She's right. Claire didn't fail. She transferred the investigation from a forensic accountant who was dying to a fire captain who was grieving. She trusted me to finish what she started, and I did. Not with the precision of a forensic accountant, with the bluntness of a man who spent 30 years kicking down doors. Different method, same result. The fire's out. I'm Arthur Pennington. I'm 63 years old. 3 hours before my daughter's engagement party, I found a hidden folder on my dead wife's laptop. Inside were 47 files that proved the man my daughter was marrying was a fraud, a thief, and a predator operating under a stolen name. My wife couldn't finish the investigation. Cancer took her time. But she left the evidence. She left the folder. And she left 6 words that changed everything. Dad, investigate him. I ran out of time. If this story touched you, leave a comment. Tell me, would you have given the toast or handled it privately? Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more stories about family truth and the women who protect us even after they're gone. Before we close, this story, like all stories on this channel, contains fictional elements crafted for entertainment and educational purposes. If this type of content isn't for you, that's completely okay. Take care of yourselves. But if you stayed until the end, thank you. Claire would have liked you. She always appreciated people who verify what they're told. Now if you'll excuse me, I need to clear her browser history. 340 tabs. She never closed a single one. Because Claire never closed a case.